Ads are so competitive, so oversaturated. You have to spend at least $20,000 to $30,000 a month for it to even work. And when I hear it, it makes me heated because in some cases, sure, but it is absolutely not a blanket statement.
This is what boils my blood. Let's say a firm signs 50 cases a month. And so they go, we're doing great. And the marketing company goes, yeah, we're doing great. And they're not really contributing. The law firm is promulgating its own success. If you've been with the same marketing partner for 3 to 5 years and you have the same contract, the deliverables from 5 years ago are not what the deliverables should be today. They might be actually doing you a disservice.
Hi everyone, Jake from FirmPilot here, recording a bit of a special video today. Usually it's just me. We've done one or two of these and we have a return guest, my good friend Peter Webb, who I'll intro in just a second. I kind of want to just set the stage for why I asked you to join me on this video, Peter. As you know, I've been flying around the country. It is conference season. I just got back from Mardi Gras. This week is MTMP and a Lanier conference the same week. It's getting crazy. And when you go to this many conferences, you see some great speakers, you hear some amazing insights. They are absolutely valuable. But you and I were texting the other day because there's 5 things, sometimes articulated, stated in different ways, but there's 5 things that make me quiver when I hear them. I like to call them 5 horrible marketing lies. And I just want to talk about them. Have you, someone who's done this for so long, confirm, hey, am I crazy? Like, should these be driving me up a wall? And why firms thinking about how to improve their marketing, fix it, get started, whatever it is, can avoid any detrimental effects of either falling into these lies or avoiding them unnecessarily. But quick background. Jake, CEO, founder of FirmPilot, really simple. We use data and our own AI to make law firm marketing a whole lot more precise. Take the manual guesswork out of the traditional way that's existed for 15 plus years. And almost 3 years later, we've done it with more than 100 firms as one of the fastest growing AI companies and the fastest legal marketing company in history. And it's been awesome. And have gotten to work with some amazing firms and attorneys, and through mutual clients have met Peter. And Peter, I'll let you explain firm performance in your role, but I like to call you kind of the X-ray to the back office of firms. But please.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful to be here. Good seeing you again, Jake. So I created Firm Performance because I believe that law firms need more than just marketing or just an intake solution or just good leads or referrals. They kind of need to button it all up together into a business plan and a strategy. And it requires transparency and visibility into what's working, what's not working. And so having spent 25 years in the digital marketing world, honestly, I kept seeing these great firms that do very well in court, and they're great litigators or great purveyors of the law, but they just didn't know what they didn't know. And so my passion was tied to helping great firms be great by understanding the business behind it. So your analogy and approximation of an X-ray to the business is really what I have been focused on. So Firm Performance is dedicated to helping firms kind of utilize the best marketing channels, utilize the best dollars to make sure that they're generating the types of calls and cases that they actually want, which helps them grow profitably. So, yeah.
And I've loved seeing what you guys do. As amazing as I think we are, I'm honest enough to admit marketing is a piece to a much, much bigger puzzle. So it's been really cool to see how you guys dissect that whole lead to prospect to client to case journey in a firm's business's landscape. So it's really cool.
Thank you. It's marketing is wonderful, but it requires what I commonly am talking to everyone about is a feedback loop which is the feedback from intake, the feedback from the law firm of, hey, what you guys are producing has this quality index or this lack of quality index. And really, a marketing company needs that feedback to be able to course correct. And a lot of firms don't even know that they should be doing that. So even just that one thing of giving direction back, to a marketing company, even you guys have been fantastic with every single client that I've ever become aware of that you guys touch and work with. There's alignment, there's goals, there's strategies tied to it. But what the law firm doesn't know usually is what hurts them. And so helping them provide you guys what you guys need, everyone wins.
Yeah. No matter how good your marketing is, if you don't have that feedback, you're flying blind, because we could see numbers that we're cheering, woohoo, great. And then the firm's going, we're getting tons of calls, but they stink. So you got to cut down that wall. Sorry, we're going on a tangent already, but I want to dive into this first one. I'm a big ads guy. Our whole trick, I hate to call it a trick at FirmPilot, are our models. We have a PPC model. We're building some other ad channel models, these proprietary AI models or agents that we build that can just move so much faster, leaner, smarter than a human. And yes, we have humans for oversight. You have to have a human in the loop. But GPUs can just process so much more data and intelligence and be smarter. And we've seen it work. But there's this statement, the number always changes. That goes to show how fugazi it is. But there's this statement that we hear a lot now. Ads are so competitive, so oversaturated. You have to spend at least $20,000 to $30,000 a month for it to even work. And when I hear it, I want to go on this big tangent. It makes me heated because in some cases, sure, but it is absolutely not a blanket statement. Before I get into the whys and the hows and the wins and wheres, Peter, can you comment? Because you do budgeting with firms all the time. Some that do ads, some that don't. Please.
Perfect. Okay. I also hear that all the time. And unfortunately, it's said with a negative connotation. Okay. So meaning it's almost a defeated comment that is said. I can't do this because it requires, as you said, enter any number. It requires a 50,000 or 100,000. And all that tells me is that there's no strategy being deployed. There's no intelligence behind what is occurring. And so therefore it's a blanket statement of, I've missed the boat. I need to spend all this money that I don't have. And honestly, you shouldn't. It is a falsehood that is constantly kept alive, unfortunately, by marketing companies, where that's their business model of, they have a strong sales force where they sell, they attempt to try to get it to work, and then it fails, and what is called churn, where they leave, and then they go sell some other unsuspecting law firm. And so whenever I hear that, I kind of say, hey, time out real quick. Let's go back to basics. What are your cases worth? What's your marketing budget? How do you track things? What are the strategies being deployed? So I hate anything that is this apathetic, defeatist mentality, because it just means you don't have someone in your corner that's working hard to help you win with the correct budget, whatever that budget is. But I would love to hear, I'd love to hear what you say.
There's some truth to it that the smaller the budget, the harder it is. Because in theory, what we're trying to do is imagine like an actual auction going on. And the more you go to sports memorabilia art, the more you go to, the better you're going to be at not overpaying, right? My point is a brand new Google Ads campaign or one that's older, but just hasn't been trained right. Google doesn't know what a conversion is. It thinks someone who calls you, fills out a form. It could be spam. It could be a bot. It could be someone trying to sell you something. If it's not being trained properly of what is a actual good quality qualified lead, then it's being trained on crappy data. And sure, you now need 100 leads to get one case rather than 7 leads to get one case. Arbitrary number, but if you need 10, 11, 12 times as many calls to get one good client or case, then sure, your overall ad budget is going to be inflated like crazy. So we've seen that, yes, there is a minimum threshold. You need to get enough. No one's going to sign 100% of those calls. I've never seen it done. So you need the budget necessary to handle enough, but it's a math problem. If you know what your cost per click is, and you know what percent you're signing, even in between those, what percent on average are good qualified leads, we can reverse engineer this to be pretty precise about here's the budget you actually need. And that's why this blanket statement of you need $25,000 end sentence, no actual numbers behind it, just drives me mad, because we've seen $5,000 budgets work. We've seen $5,000 budgets not work. We've seen $20,000 budgets work and not work. It just depends on the arena we're playing in, and do you have the data?
Totally. Really, it comes back to that strategic point, right? Where the larger the budget as a blanket statement, the more of guesswork it's accounting for. Yeah. That is the biggest takeaway of this, is the larger the budget, where there's no data to support why that budget. Because to your point, Jake, you're completely correct. Sometimes spending 20 or 30 is the correct thing. If you're in a major metro and you're going after highly competitive cases, that might not even be enough. But the point is what happens is you're taking the hyper competitive model, and then you're blanket statementing, not you, but people blanket statement that for all things you need that to succeed, and it's not true. And there's an analogy that I want everyone to think with here. If you were going to go on a road trip, okay, there's three primary factors that I'm going to call out in this example: the vehicle and how efficient your vehicle is to get from point A to point B, how much fuel you have to get from point A to point B, and the destination and your route to that destination, and how efficient is that route, right? Think of GPS before GPS. So when I hear the concept of you need 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 to succeed, it's almost like they just went on a map and they went like this to get here. And really what you're doing is you're saying you don't need to do all that extra driving. We're going to identify, where are you trying to go, and what's the most efficient path, and how much fuel budget do you need to get from point A to point B? And then my point is, do you have a vehicle with which to get you there? If it has two tires and you're missing two tires, even with the fuel and the strategy and the point A and point B, you're not going to get there. So there's some correlations there of some moving parts.
I like that analogy. And to tie it back to the way we do ads, is the destination and where you start from. If you can move them closer together, then all of a sudden you don't need that $30,000 budget or 50, whatever it is. Sure, there is a minimum threshold, but we can bite away at the problem, the equation, from both sides. Let's not go after best car accident lawyer. Let's find these long tail searches or geo modifiers that are getting less bids, even in super competitive area, but let's go after something that's a slightly lower cost per click. Then let's let our agent tweak your actual ad strategy, hyper targeting, time of day, actual day, besides scheduling, demographic data, all of this where we see conversion rates are up, click-through rates are up. So you chip away at both sides. You start closer to the destination and you bring the destination closer. All of a sudden, you don't need that $30,000 budget. But the old school, not to get heated about it, but the old school traditional manual way of, this is how we do PPC. It's the same method no matter what market you're in. So that's why it's so quick to say you need $20,000 based on the cost per click. Sure, if you just use that same strategy, yeah. But if we change the strategy to move closer to the destination, bring the destination closer to us, then we've adapted to the arena that we're playing in. That statement of you need $25,000 to even start ads drives me nuts.
100%. Now let's kind of give people the truth. So the lie is you need a gigantic budget to succeed in any market with any paid advertising. That is the lie. Yes. The truth is you need to have a strategic conversation and really define, what are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to accomplish it? Who are you competing with to get there? What is the value index of what you're trying to generate? Does it make sense to spend the money to get there? And then build a plan so you have enough budget to be able to actually make it work. So at the end of the day, A successful campaign is you spent X, you got a volume, you got calls, you signed cases, and the value of those cases is Y, and Y justifies X. You get a return on that investment. That is a successful, because you use the word conversion. That is what I define as a successful marketing conversion overall.
And we can do that exercise. Let's twist some knobs. Let's use data, change the strategy so we bring the starting point closer, bring in the destination. And it still may not be enough fuel or budget. And we'll tell the prospect, hey, it's just not enough budget. When you can do it, yes. But by bringing it in, we can decrease that minimum threshold, or at least make it tailor-made to them, not just a one size fits all, you need $25,000. So it doesn't guarantee they're going to have enough, but at least we can actually be prescriptive about it.
100%. And prescriptive means there's a strategy, there's a reasoning behind it. That's the biggest takeaway here. If you're spending money and you don't understand why it's that amount, and no one can tell you why it should be that amount, you need to make sure you have a strategy behind. This is what you should spend. These are the factors of why. Here's why we need to get enough volume. That's the missing point. And I've seen you do it many times, Jake, and obviously everyone at FirmPilot. But really, there's a lot of people that unfortunately just listen blindly to whoever their marketing person is, and they go, okay, I guess I'll spend that budget, and they're waiting for it to work, and it doesn't. And that is what boils my blood, is they're just waiting, being taken advantage of.
So myth debunked. Cool. So let's jump to another one. This is, I can't wake up and open, maybe it's my fault. I should stop opening LinkedIn in the morning. But I open LinkedIn, I open Reddit, my algorithms know me well. And I see the debate going back and forth. SEO is dead. SEO is dead. SEO is dead. I know you talk about this a lot, so I'm just going to stop and let you kick it off.
Yes. So SEO is not dead. SEO is not going to be dead anytime soon based on all projections. Now, here's something that I heard interesting that was leading people who know a surface level amount to get confused enough to think it is dead, which is this: AI is taking over and SEO is going away. Now, why did they say that? What they were saying was, I'm getting less clicks, less conversions because AI is bringing up, right, the preview. And so people get what they want and they may pick up the phone. Well, guess what? Your SEO analytics, Google Analytics and what have you, is not going to report as many clicks. So you could have a declining graph, yet your calls could be going up, or your conversions or the chats or whatever it is. But SEO is the foundation where AEO, the AI version of it, utilizes the same concepts. SEO is not the devil. SEO is not the bad guy here. It is the compilation of things that tell the search engines what you're relevant for and credible for, and an expert at, and authority, and everything along those lines. So it is absolutely not dead, but I would love to hear from you, the expert on the matter.
Yeah, so I was just Googling because I didn't want to, on my other screens, I didn't want to be wrong about the numbers. But Google search is 57.3% of Google's total revenue of $80.5 billion. Google stock is up 50.86% in the last year. I don't work in finance. Pretty smart people do. Public markets tend to be good indicators of fact and myth. If Google stock, who is so heavily reliant on search, was up 50% over the last year, which it is, I think it's safe to say that one of their largest revenue generator, search, isn't dying. There was this panic of Google's dying. That would already be priced in the markets. Let's step away from public markets, which are already so heavily factored into the fact that search isn't going anywhere. But let's step away. If you really understand how AEO, GEO, it's all the same as SEO, but whatever you want to call it, if you really dissect how they work, it's so many of the core of the core principles. Like if you had a Venn diagram, the space in between would be very, very slight. Backlinks, content, markup schema. It's the same stuff. Now, what's changing is we're twisting knobs and dials. We're doing it at FirmPilot. We give content that we're trying to get mentioned in ChatGPT slightly different flavor. We might look at different backlinks. We might tweak markup schema a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's the same idea as SEO. You're optimizing your digital presence to appear in where people are searching. That's point number 2. Point number 3, point number 1 is the public market say search isn't going anywhere. Point number 2 is if we do want to say it's all about GEO, AEO, it's the same tactics, just slightly different flavors. Point number 3, people are so quick to forget about conversational UXs. So what year was this? This was maybe 2016, 17. I may be off by a couple of years. If you remember all the chatbot wave, I've been in SaaS and AI forever. If you remember the chatbot wave, Facebook Messenger bot, everything was going to CNN bot, Fox bot, NBC bot, everything was going to be done via bots, chatbots. Now, chat is a wonderful experience for some things. I love ChatGPT, but there's a time and a place. If you want to ask a binary question, how old is Taylor Swift? Just give me the answer. I don't need the 10 blue links. However, if you're looking for a restaurant in San Diego, a hotel in Austin, Texas, the best tennis sneakers for a marathon you're training on, Peter, do you want one suggestion or do you want many? It's the same concept for finding an attorney. You want to see multiple suggestions. So even if it is in some form of a chat experience, it's still a one of many question and UX user experience. So maybe it looks different than the 10 organic blue links, but there is still an actual mechanism, what we call an algorithm, to the sort and rank of the suggested carousels instead of the blue links. So we're just changing the experience. So again, public markets say it's not going anywhere. The actual tactics are the same, just slightly different dials. And third, it's the same experience. It just has a different coat of paint on it. So I kind of laugh when I see this freak out of SEO is dying. It's not going anywhere. It's just evolving. And it's gone through many evolutions over the last 15 years. This is just the next one.
Right. I think everyone just needs to remember attention spans are dwindling, and they have for years. And so people want credible options to choose from as quickly as possible. Now, to your point, if you're asking a question that has a yes or no answer, you want that just as quickly as possible. Is 2 + 2 4? Yes. Great.
Sometimes.
Exactly. So, but the other side is who is the best criminal defense attorney in my area, or who's the best personal injury or car accident attorney. What they want is a variety of results that are all credible with typically a suggestion
They want context.
In the first spot, like, hey, you should really consider this guy. So when it goes back to SEO is dead, SEO is what's informing and building this credibility with all the things that go into it, right? Which is like reviews, shows Google and people that you are relevant, hypothetically, right? To whatever that search is, or at least credible, right? An authority. And then the content on your site and the backlinks. So everything really works together. So really my big takeaway for everyone of is SEO dead? Stop trying to make a bad guy of SEO and refocus efforts over here to the newest shiny object. Treat it as a holistic unit of what can you continually do with your digital footprint to make sure you're relevant, authoritative, showing expertise, and someone that they can trust of doing all the things. So it benefits SEO, it benefits AEO, GEO, whatever it is. It benefits people using Siri asking questions. It benefits people looking at local maps and think wherever someone goes, the best strategy is having a consistent, ubiquitous, professional image and footprint across all platforms.
Love it. Couldn't agree more. Next one. This can get tricky because on the surface, it sounds like it's negating what we just said, but it's not. It's saying we're still doing SEO. We're just evolving. Even if it wasn't Chat GPT or something coming, it was something else, telepathic, whatever it is, we would still be evolving, but it's still foundational SEO. But the third lie that we hear is the same tactics still work, or what worked last year is still going to work.
Okay. So
I know you like this topic.
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's like let me talk a little bit about how this even happens. So I recently, because I feel pretty strongly about this, I recently did this post on LinkedIn about really, I believe that marketing companies should be held to a fiduciary duty, the same as attorneys and bankers and real estate agents, because there's this nebulous who everyone thinks they're right. And they're not, but they could have had success in 2016 doing a tactic. And that tactic is still being employed today, but the landscape changed. And honestly, I immediately think of warfare. If a sword worked in the Middle Ages and you bring it into today's battles, you're not in a position that I would want to be in when people are using gunpowder and firearms and other things. So you have to be attentive to the fact that the landscape in our industry is changing more rapidly than almost any other industry. Here's a perfect like opposite, antipodes of life. The steel industry, they do things pretty much the same way they have for hundreds of years, whereas ours is changing daily, right? And so we have to make sure that we're doing the things and keeping up with what are the latest advances in artificial intelligence. What are the latest ways that consumers consume data and media, and where do they go and what are they doing and how do they want to get it? And so for me, what worked yesterday may not work today or tomorrow. And really, one thing that I would strongly advise people to do is really ask questions of your current provider or agency or anyone you're vetting, and really get an understanding of how on the front, bleeding edge of technology are they in understanding what's going to come. Ask them questions of like, how do you believe AI is going to affect SEO? And if they don't have a really good answer, one thing that I would caution is they're probably spending more time executing yesteryear's strategies than spending time to look to the future and educate of what's coming next.
And to that point, I explained to somebody, a client the other day, I got a text, a client in Chicago that said, let's freaking go. We got them mentioned in ChatGPT for best dog bite lawyer. That's awesome. But I said, we're not done. And my point being, I asked them, do you remember call only ads or extended search ads? Law firms used to crush with those. They don't exist anymore. Well, we're seeing Google is testing other stuff where they're taking the call button away from map pack. It's constantly changing. How do we know ChatGPT is even going to be relevant in 15, 20 years? Maybe it is. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but the point is there's been so many different marketing channels for firms that we don't even remember. The call only ads, the extended map pack is going through a change where it could go. I have a theory that LSA is going to be gone one day, but I could be wrong there. But the point is, it is changing so fast that we're already thinking about what is next. So obviously I'm biased about us, but we're planning for a world where there's something after transformer models, which power large language models such as, the foundation for ChatGPT and Claude. You need to be thinking about what's next if you're trying to scale. Because hindsight, baby, is 2020. I thought Bitcoin was something ridiculous and man, wish I bought that. But the point is, you always need to be thinking about what's next, because the new thing now, ChatGPT, AI overviews, that could be gone one day. So It's about getting, I don't even like to say the word vendor, but I think a partner who is constantly on the forefront of always trying to modernize and not getting stuck in this is how we do things. We've had the same playbook for 10 years.
100%. And here's the thing. If you are an attorney or a business owner and you don't know a lot of the stuff we're talking about, that's okay. You need to find someone who does know and then ask those questions so you're in great shape, right? Part of it's execution, part of it is reporting to make sure what is being executed is actually translating to profitable growth. But part of it should be kind of research and development. It's what's new, and take one meeting a week from someone who's on the front edge and try to understand that. And before you know it, you'll stumble into something which becomes relevant or is on the forefront of it. And so if you find that you are a laggard, which is the term in marketing when you adopt new technologies or new things last or late, then start changing that so you're not left behind, by at least having a conversation with people who do know, and just become aware of even what it is that you can do about it.
But it's, again, back to the main point of what got you here isn't gonna get you there. So you need to know that who you're working with is thinking about the next stop and the next stop and the next stop. No complacency.
100%.
Cool. I got two more that I've written down. One is probably the thing you deal with the most. One is something that drives me personally the craziest when I hear this. This is the one that bugs me the most. I like to think we were first to market in legal marketing via AI. We also know AI. Like, we're not a team of, we've been fortunate enough to raise money from some amazing investors so we can go out and hire the subject matter experts. But our background is in data science and data engineering. We literally went to school for computer science and computer engineering. We love talking about models and retrieval methods, and I can go down a rabbit hole. But when we go to all these conferences and we hear someone that's in sales saying, you already know where I'm going. We hear someone in sales saying, we're chat GPT ready. We know AI. And they're just using chat GPT off the shelf to give you content that anyone, you can see, I'm already getting heated, that can click a button. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Or I saw someone post a video on LinkedIn the other day saying we host a weekend hackathon, and showed stock footage from Shutterstock of keyboards and data moving around the screen, saying to develop our own AI. And I'm like, if you could develop models that can curate data, create an ontology in a RAG system or graph RAG, and constantly purge and clean it in a weekend, Google should be paying you $10 million a year to go work for them. Because it doesn't work like that. You can't do that. You can't just watch a YouTube video and be an AI expert. So that's something that drives me nuts. People saying that they know what I spent 4 years learning in college and working in for a decade since, or people way smarter than me, our CTO, John, who you've met, who has his PhD, and other people who they've eat, sleep, breathe data for decades. And then someone goes on stage and goes, yeah, we know AI. We're at the forefront. It drives me nuts, but it's not about me. My question for you is, one, how can firms debunk the myth or the front from a salesperson of we know AI? When you go on a call with, whether it's a marketing vendor or case management or something else, like, how can you tell if this is real or if they're just selling this and they're just using Chat GPT, which is a $20 to $40 license?
Okay, so let's break down a couple things here, because I fully know why this boils your blood, and it boils mine for an adjacent reason. AI is not my core competency, but what is doing right by clients. It goes back to a lot of law firms are unsuspecting and they're trying to do the right thing. And so they believe people. And that's why sales pitches in the legal industry work so well, unfortunately. And so AI is so easy to use to minimize work. But I'm going to remind everyone of a simple concept. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And the more simple something is, you're not going to actually cut the corners you think you are, because if it's that easy, then everyone's doing it. Then all of a sudden you're all in the same boat. So one of the first things that I talked with Jake about, I still remember the conversation. We were at a conference in New York, and I said, talk to me about your process and strategy with AI. Like, is it just like a quick turnaround, like 5 minutes later? And Jake started laughing, and he said, it is so far from that. We have such a refinement process. Garbage in equals garbage out. And the last thing we want to do is use ChatGPT to write content. And I said, I've heard that, but why? And he said, basically, you don't know what's legitimate, what's not. It's pulling from anyone and anything that's available on the internet. And what if it's wrong? And what if it's from something else? And what if it's from a blog over here? What if it's from an opinion piece? So, and now you're putting your name on that, and that could give like someone the wrong impression of X, Y, and Z. And Google can track that in the search engine. So all of a sudden, you're basically using a shortcut to provide garbage, which actually does you worse than if you didn't use it, period. And so I thought that was a really well stated, simple enough, because he started going down a rabbit hole, and I was like, time out. I didn't go to school for this. You did. Give me the high level overview. And essentially it's like, a strong strategy is the first thing that's gathered through conversations of what's important to you, what separates you, a full analysis, and then a plan is built based on those priorities. And then they have what's called a large language model. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of Jake because I might butcher this a little bit, but essentially they have a collection of data that they painstakingly put hundreds of thousands of millions of pieces of basically verified data that is of a certain quality index. So that way, when they use this to come up with content, and then it's refined with human beings actually looking at this stuff, it's not a quick process, but the outcome is something that I've seen Google actually index it within hours, like usually like 72 hours instead of the standard 6 weeks. And so to me, that was all I needed to know. That is what Jake's saying real. And so luckily for me, I had that, and I can compare anyone else who goes, we know AI. And so then I say,
should they, I guess the question is like, what should, imagine you weren't talking to me and you were talking to someone who's selling for blah, blah, blah marketing company. Like, what would be a red flag or red flags were like, this isn't real?
If the speed in with which that they're generating content, like we'll get it, you ranking tomorrow, or we'll get a turnaround. If they're using,
we don't like when we give you a piece of content, it's not like you could say, hey, ChatGPT, give me a piece of content. Ours is not like this because our crawlers are getting to work, and
there's a whole process. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. If they just got into AI recently because everyone's talking about it, if their core competency or their model is tied to something else, ask a few deeper level questions. What is your strategy with leveraging AI? And please tell me it is not ChatGPT or any of those main ones of putting content in and 5 minutes later you get something else and someone just quickly edits it. If that is what's happening, that is not a strategy. That's a shortcut, which is going to typically backfire. And by typically, I mean it will backfire. So try to understand to the best of your ability why they believe their AI works, and they should be able to talk about it in depth and simplify it. Einstein said it best: if you truly understand something, you can simplify it. So if they can only talk in like a layer that doesn't make sense, get a second opinion. But Jake, I would love to hear what you're the expert here. What do you recommend people do to know the true workers of AI versus the imposters?
Ask them how you avoid hallucinations. I would love to know. Now, the challenge is, this is something that I need to think about more. Maybe we'll do another video of it, of what exactly the red flag statements are. But what kind of resource hallucination detection are they doing?
I think you need to define hallucinations for people because
So a hallucination is you say, I need a piece of content about bankruptcy law or divorce, and it states the wrong law or a made up case. So how do they fact check their content? If they need a human to fact check it, that's fine. However, that means they're likely just using ChatGPT and then editing it. So as good as it sounds sales wise to say, oh, good, you have a human looking at it, that means that AI for them is a cost cutter. They're just using it to save time on the initial draft. So they can edit it and fix the facts. However, the core structure of the content is not built to perform well SEO wise. It was to save them time and money. So I think I just answered it. That's the flag I would listen for, because we build semi-supervised machine learning models that are pulling in all the facts, extracting it from the finalized content, compared it to a corpus of facts, use third-party verifiers that is the second filter. And then if anything does get flagged, we rerun it and our model learns. And not until it passes all those do we give it to the client, who then still gives it a proof. But we have actual machinery built for fact checking, and it learns and gets better. If I said we just craft a piece of content and then a human reads it, the AI, all it did was save our team time and money. It didn't benefit the client at all.
100%. So even taking what I said when talking about refinement, really a better way to almost say that is it's layers of quality control to make sure that these hallucinations, which occur in AI, are detected and changed and then made sure is actually of the level of quality.
The simple statement I probably should have said is that AI isn't just to generate the content. AI is to be a better fact checker than a human. Humans miss it. Humans miss facts. Humans hallucinate too. The AI is fact checking. Our AI is built to optimize for SEO. Our AI is built to embed your brand in it, and all these other things. It's not just AI to generate content.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's
I feel better.
Good. I'm glad. There's a word I keep thinking of, which is kind of a unique word. It's called epistemology, which is the study and the theory of knowledge. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is AI, right? So the concept of what is this knowledge base, which to your point, humans actually hallucinate. They forget facts, they forget things. And then AI can do the same thing, whether it's pulling incorrect data or it makes assumptions based on data. And so again, creating this kind of concept of what is the body of knowledge between human and AI working together with layers of quality control to ensure the end product is something that's going to be beneficial to the human being, but also beneficial to the search engines to deliver up those answers. I think that's probably the most concise way that I could say it. But
yeah, I know we drifted from the initial point, but I like where it went. So one more, and this is probably one that gives a similar effect, but to you. Taking credit without clear attribution and reporting. When someone goes, I have more cases, I got leads, but I don't, and you ask, great, well, what are you doing? I go, well, I'm doing TV, I'm doing radio, I'm doing events, I have SEO, I have ads. And they say, well, is your SEO working? Yeah, my agency says it's working. Is your TV working? Yeah, the media buyer says it's going great. So you go, oh okay.
This bothers me so much. And the reason why is the law firm is the one who loses. They're being taken advantage of. And what is happening is the agency wants to retain their clients so they can retain the money. Okay. Now, if the law firm does not have, and few law firms have, true visibility into what's working and what's not through the use of reporting, very few have it. So let's say there's a great firm and they win an incredible verdict or settlement, right? And they're in the news. And all of a sudden that generates interest. and a news source picks it up, unbeknownst to the law firm, because they don't care about that necessarily, or they're not paying as much attention to where am I being mentioned, and they're Googling their name every day. Very rarely does that happen, especially for legit firms. So here they are, they're building up their own book of business, and they're actually getting referrals. And the agency is not. And they say, how many cases did you sign? Or, hey, you're being Googled more. Or, hey, the numbers are going up. It had nothing to do with them. And so they're taking credit for something that actually came from something else. So a lot of the times it leads to a scenario where a law firm will continue to work with an agency that's secretly riding on the coattails of the success of the firm.
And maybe the agency is doing, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they're crushing it. But like,
in that, when an agency is crushing it, usually let's define this. This is really important. An agency can have a momentary spike of success, but if you look at a long enough timeline, you cannot have sustainable, predictable success by accident. It's not possible. And the longer that timeline, the less likely it is. You'll see spikes and dips. Now, if the firm is continually growing strategically and they have an uptrending growth path, that is not by accident. And the agency is probably doing the things they know they should be doing. And they're probably aware of those things. And they're probably reporting on, hey, these are the things that are going well. So I'm definitely not saying like agencies, are all the same in any way whatsoever, or, even if they're not doing the reporting. My point is, if you do not have visibility into what's working and what's not working, you should really take a fresh look at who are the vendors or partners that you're working with and what are they doing to propel you in the right direction, if at all. Sometimes getting second opinions and things like that. It happens to me all the time. I go into a law firm, I go, who are you working with? Good. What are we spending? Good. What are we getting? Good. What are the case values? Good. What's their direction? Who's giving them the feedback? Who's giving them the direction? What are they working on? Oh, they're writing a random blog every 3 months that is not being picked up, and that's what they're doing, and you're spending this amount of money for this amount of outcome. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I remember first meeting you through a mutual client, and it felt like one of those old detective movies where they have the light and they're shining on them. Show me the numbers, like show me the actual traffic, the keywords. Was like, okay, this is serious. Yeah. So I loved that you held us accountable. It taught us how to really build trust with our clients. Now, obviously, it took us time and a lot of money to build out that systematic approach to knowing these are where the clicks are coming from. This is where we're moving up. This is where it's getting worse. This is where we need to improve. These are where calls are coming from. These are the costs for the, like, we slice and dice this stuff like crazy. You've seen it. For someone who is working with a marketing partner and they don't feel they have that level of visibility and trust and confidence, they saw this. What are like the 2-3 first reports that they should get off this call, set up a meeting with them and say, hey, I need these 2-3 regular reports. Like, what would be like obviously there's a million things we like to look at, but if you had to say, these are the 1, 2, 3 things that you need to know and be shown from your marketing partner on a regular basis, what would they be?
Well, first thing is, what are you spending and what are you getting? A common profit and loss kind of concept of what are your expenses tied to marketing and what are you signing from marketing channels. So if word of mouth, you really want to understand, did that come from marketing or did it come from another effort? A lot of times, great firms get a lot of referrals.
Add something to that. We've gone in places where firms say, my SEO is great, I have so much traffic. And then we look at it and so much is branded. That's not because of us. If we can't get you ranked for your own name, Peter Webb, then we stink. Yeah. So to your point of referrals, like someone heard about you from a friend, a family, and they Googled your firm name. That's not SEO.
Exactly.
You need to filter that out. Yeah.
Yes. Or at least be aware. It comes back to visibility, comes back to reporting. I'm talking about reporting all the time, every day with every firm. What are we getting? What do we know we're getting? What do we know we're not getting? Right. And the better the firm is, the better their brand, the better their saturation and people know them, the more cases they're typically signing from branded keyword terms where they know the attorney or the firm name and they're generating cases. And this is what boils my blood. Let's say a firm signs 50 cases a month. And so they go, we're doing great. And the marketing company goes, yeah, we're doing great. And they're not really contributing. The law firm is promulgating its own success.
Events. Yeah.
100%. And so when we get into it, go, oh, yes, they searched for the firm name. That's because of these other efforts. That's because of us. What are you doing to generate the non-branded? Let me give you some examples. ABC Law Firm. That's a branded term. I got, arrested for X, Y, and Z, and I need an attorney as an example. That is a non-branded term. That's I need someone. I need a divorce attorney. I need a bankruptcy attorney. I need a personal injury attorney. Those are unbranded because it could be anybody. Those are the things that are going to move the needle because that's what the general public typically are doing, right? Where they're searching for that. So it comes back to what are you spending your money to get? You could even review a contract and look at what are the deliverables and are they even doing that? As funny as it is, if you've been with the same marketing partner for 3 to 5 years and you have the same contract, the deliverables from 5 years ago are not what the deliverables should be today. That's as simple as that's one really great thing to just look at in a fresh moment in time. And so they might be actually doing you a disservice. 10 years ago, writing 250 blogs a month could be like, we're going to win because the volume is going to beat everybody. That is not the game we're playing now. Quality plays a large role in this. So if they're abiding by their contract and they're not in breach of contract, they could be doing the actual actions that are driving you further into the mud, believe it or not, which comes back to some of the points we talked about earlier of, do you have the right partners that are actually doing that? What worked yesteryear doesn't necessarily work today.
Love it. Well, I'm looking at the time. I know we need to wrap up, but just to summarize again, number one, you don't need $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 to do ads. In fact, there's not even a set number for everybody. Do the math. Number two, SEO is not dead. It is far from dead. It's evolving, but it's still the same foundation. Not to sound counterintuitive to that, even though SEO is not going anywhere, you can't keep doing the exact same things you did last year. And the things we do next year are going to be completely different. And the year after, you need to stay on the forefront. Four, there are other people that know AI. We are far from the smartest people in AI. But you need to be able to sniff out the selling, the surface level of we're AI experts because we watched a YouTube video or we know it's hot and we're just using ChatGPT to save us time and us costs. And then lastly, attribution. Give credit where credit's due, but when you know it's due.
I love it. I think this is going to help a lot of people, which makes me immediately happy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Peter. Appreciate you spending the time.
Absolutely. Great.
And if people want to learn more, you tell them where to go.
Yeah. FirmPerformance.com. You can obviously go there and set up a time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to chat with you. I've done sales for 25 years. So I try taking a non-sales approach of just, hey, what's going on? What are you looking to accomplish? Does it make sense? And go from there. And then obviously Jake knows what he's doing.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, Peter. And then this video will be on our YouTube, on our website, FirmPilot.com. We just love talking about this stuff, free tips, resources for whatever it's worth. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect.